Hey, today's agenda is about using the Photos app on your iPhone. So we're going to look at where you find this Photos app, and just in case somebody's not familiar with it, what it does when you connect it to iCloud Photos, what happens when you edit a photo and how to edit, and some of the editing options that are available for you. And then one little tool that's been available that you may or may not have used called markup. You can actually mark up photos in your iPhone Photos app as well. So anyway, that's some of the things that we're going to cover today. And we'll show you live what's going on as well. So you'll be able to see it live on your um, screen when I share my iPhone screen. So the Photos app has an icon that looks like this on your screen. It's a flower burst with lots of different colors. It's the same way on a Mac, on an iPhone, and an iPad. So all of your photos that you take with your camera on your iPhone end up in the Photos app. Okay. And Apple organizes them automatically for you by the type of photo you took. So if you took a screenshot, for example, it automatically has a way for you to find screenshots. If you have photos organized by date and time, it lets you see your photos organized by year, and it actually is searchable for photos. Apple does have some AI capabilities in the Photos app that does recognize images for you. So if you're looking for pictures of cats or dogs or place and even places, it can help identify them for you. It's included with your iPhone, your iPad, and your Mac. Okay. When it's used with iCloud Photos, and I'm going to walk you through the settings for that, and I'll show you also, it synchronizes your photos across all your devices. So the photos you see on your Mac are the same photos you see on your phone, the same photos you see on the iPad. And this is one of Apple's ecosystem benefits, is that they synchronize everything as seamlessly as possible. You just have to set up iCloud Photos on all of your devices, and every photo will be identical, and all your albums will be identical, and your edits will be identical as well. So when you edit a photo on a phone or on a Mac, and you look at the photo on an iPhone or an iPad, it looks exactly the same across all of your devices. So it's kind of a convenient resource the way Apple has done things. Now, there's a couple of settings you want to check in iCloud photo settings, and we're going to go through these. Okay, so this is a screenshot, and I'm going to show you live on my screen what it looks like. But you start with the settings icon, then you go to your Apple ID, then you go to iCloud, then you go to Photos, and then you turn on Sync. And if that's turned on, all of your photos will get uploaded to your iCloud account for you automatically. It uploads when you're on Wi-Fi, so it doesn't use up your cellular data, and it synchronizes with the web, and it synchronizes with your iPad when your iPad connects up to the internet, and it synchronizes with your Mac when your Mac connects up to the internet. And it synchronizes, obviously, with iCloud.com, which you can get to from any device as well. By the way, Google Photos works very similarly. So Google allows you to download Google Photos for your Windows PC, for your iPad, for your Mac, for your iPhone, and you can choose to upload photos to Windows Photos. And in case you're wondering, Microsoft gives you this capability in OneDrive as well. So you can use either one or two or three if you choose to. It's easier to keep track of them with one, I'll be honest, but it does allow you to use them as a backup option if you've got that space. Okay, so all of them will look the same on all of your Apple devices. Great way to go. And you can even get to it through your Apple TV. You are actually allowed through your Apple TV to go to your photo app and actually choose photos and display them on your Apple TV. So the idea of an old slideshow where you could show slides to people and get the screen out and everything, You can actually just run these on your TV if you choose to, if you have an Apple TV device. And there's also features that you can load them onto your Apple Watch if you have an Apple Watch. Now, when you open up a photo to edit it, you just tap on the photo or click on the photo if you're on your Mac, and it brings up an edit screen. And we'll go through all of these options and I'll show you one by one what they do. Okay, so you just open Photos, you tap on the thumbnail of the photo, and that opens up the photo full screen. And then when you have it full screen, you have the ability to tap the edit button, because you don't start editing it when you look at it full screen. You just start looking at it full screen. And then you can select the editing options to change and edit them. There's a lot of powerful tools. We'll fix up some photos that I've taken of places that we'll take a look at, okay? Okay, so one of the things that's important to understand is that your edits are non-destructive. Non-destructive means that you do not destroy the original version of the photo. You can always revert. They call it revert. Sometimes it's called restore in other apps, but it's called revert in Apple. And you can always revert back and get the original back to where you wanted it. So if you made changes, say, gee, I really don't like this, you just go back. You just hit one button and it changes everything back. Really nice, because that's non-destructive. Most photo editing tools are non-destructive these days, but some of them do make changes to the original photo. But if you typically have to get into like the Photoshop or other more advanced tools where that happens. Now, what can you edit? It's called light and color. Photography is the science of capturing light. That's what it's all about. So light is a very important aspect when you take a photo, but it's also something that you can edit. The editing tools become your darkroom, is essentially what happens. And you can make a certain amount of adjustments to your photo, but obviously a better color, a better photo originally helps a lot. So the more light you have for a photo, the better quality the photo will be, the sharper, the richer, colors will be richer, and you'll have more options to edit. So lighting is important. If you have the ability, if you're standing outside, you want to take pictures of people and the sun is behind them, ask them if they wouldn't mind turning around so that the sun is behind you and you can get a better picture out of that. You can crop and rotate and flip, and particularly helpful if you're trying to clean up a photo or find something you can emphasize. I was talking to a friend of mine at my gym this morning, and he was saying, you know, I took a picture of some people and I'd really like to learn better how to crop it. It would make it a lot better. Cropping a photo gives you ability to focus people's attention on areas. That's the purpose. Rotating it helps you if it's, for some reason, it's, you know, you want to change the angle or orientation. Flipping helps you flip it and invert it if you want to create a mirror image of it for some reason. You can adjust perspective, particularly useful for taking pictures of buildings, other areas that you might need to adjust. And so you can adjust perspective in the Photos app. I'll show you, we'll take a look at some things I took at in Florence when I was looking at the Uffizi Gallery. And I was looking up, and of course, I don't want things to look at that funny angle. They just don't look great. There's some filters built into the Photos app as well. And sometimes there's a quick way you can enhance a photo just by tapping on a filter, and it does everything you want. So you can try filters with just a tap. Yeah, Reg.
What exactly does perspective mean? For example, does it mean the angle at which you're viewing the photo?
It has to do with the what, I forget what the term is that's used for when you call perspective has a vanishing point. That's it, vanishing point. You're able to adjust the vanishing point a little bit on the perspective of the photo. So if you have a photo that is looking up at something and you want to change where the vanishing point is, you can actually tilt the image so that it appears as though you're looking at it straight on. Or if you're looking at an image sideways and you want to look at it straight on, you can change it, or you can change it to sideways. Really, really amazing tool. Great for cleaning up a lot of messes with photos. But obviously, you don't want to use it with something that's leaning intentionally, or sometimes you just like the effect of the way the photo was taken too. But the nice thing about these editing tools is that you can play around with them and get what you want out of a photo. And then it is possible to change the date, time, and location of a photo. This is called metadata for those of you that want to impress your friends with the technology term. All photos have this thing called metadata associated with them. And the metadata for the photo includes the date, the time, the location, if GPS was allowed, and also the lens, the camera, the exposure, and a lot of other details about the photo image itself that's included in the image. And then we're going to write and draw on a photo too, okay? So on our screen here, let me pull up some annotation tools here. We've got a Photos app, okay? That's what we're looking for. Wherever that Photos app is located, we can see that. And so we're gonna click on that. Let me delete things here. I have to clear drawings and delete them. And I'm gonna tap on my Photos app, and it's gonna bring up the last thing I was looking at in Photos, okay? So I was looking at screenshots. So I'm going to hit the cancel button here, and I'm going to go back to what's called albums. And albums is where you're able to see a lot of things categorized. If you look at the bottom of your screen, and we'll talk about icons, there's something called the library. And the library is going to show you things by all your photos based on years, months, days, or all photos. Okay. So if I look at months, if I look at years, or I look at days, or I look at all photos, it pulls up everything. Okay. So I can navigate and change my view depending on what makes sense for me. That is the library. It is everything. Okay. For you is something that Apple tries to create some memories and some other things, like it takes dates of times and collections of photos and creates a little memory book for you automatically. So it just collects these and has the location. I was in Sioux Falls and Rock Rapids in 2015. So it kind of pulled that together, but it's automatically created. It doesn't create a copy of a photo. It just pulls together the photos based on locations or times that you were in a particular place and pulls them together. Or sometimes it pulls things together for people or objects that are places, things that are important to you. Search gives you the ability to find photos, people, and places. And so it's convenient to search for. But albums is where most everything ends up when you want to look for it. There are some albums that are organized automatically, like recents. Well, it keeps everything in recents. So it has 7,341 photos. That's how many I take. I put my profile photos in an album. Everything else I created myself with these albums. But it helps to organize. I have a friend that organizes every trip he does into an album, and you can create an album very easily by using the plus button here if you ever want to. I'll probably do another session on organizing photos on your iPhone because organizing is really helpful. Now, there are shared albums. If you use iCloud, you share things with people, and there are media types here as well. So one of the things I did was I put all my photos up in iCloud. So I'm going to go to my settings. And if I tap on my Apple ID, iCloud Plus, and Media, I will see information about myself, and I'll see iCloud here. And by tapping on iCloud, I can see that Photos is turned on. Okay. Photos being turned on gives you the ability to synchronize the phone and synchronize everything with iCloud. Okay. So it tells you how much your photos are taking up in space. What happens when you use iCloud Photos is that the high resolution full image original is uploaded to the cloud, and a smaller file copy is kept on your phone to optimize storage. That's why it's checked here. This is the standard setting, which I haven't changed, but it's optimized iPhone 4. So these 42 gigabytes of photos that I have in iCloud take up less than 4 gigabytes of storage space on my phone. So it gives you the ability to utilize a lot less storage, because when iPhone shipped with 16 gigabytes and 32 gigabytes and 64. Now they're shipping standard with 128 gigabytes, and you can upgrade to a terabyte actually of storage in your phone. People would run out of storage because they just keep their photos. We keep our photos for a long time. So iCloud Photos maximizes your storage space on your phone to make it more manageable. So the original's in iCloud, and it's synchronized with all of your devices, and you end up downloading it to edit it. And you'll see sometimes a little download dashboard when we do that. I am in what's called albums. You can see albums is highlighted at the bottom. There are some albums that are created automatically. Selfies you take with the front-facing camera, something called live photos, which Apple takes when you have a photo that has a little bit of video motion to it, a portrait photo, panorama, slow motion video, screenshots, and something called RAW. RAW is a very, very high, full resolution image quality format that is really useful when you want to edit a photo. And that's what is used by professional photographers. And iPhones and Android phones give you the ability to take a RAW photo when you take it. Okay, you can't convert a photo to a RAW photo. You have to take it originally in what's called RAW. Imports tell you what imports. It tells you some duplicates. You can look at duplicates. You can hide ones. You can see recently deleted. Keeps them for about 30 days. Okay. So I tend to take a lot of my travel. So my raw photos tend to have a pretty decent selection of photos that I like to look at, and we can choose for editing. And these are what are called the thumbnails. Okay. I went to use my mouse to try and scroll through, and I can scroll through these thumbnails, and we can take a look at some photos that might make sense to look at editing in some way. These are from trips I've taken and places I've gone to. And I think there's one here of Multnomah Falls. These are a couple of Multnomah Falls in Oregon. For those of you that don't know it, it's a great place to go. So I don't take all of my photos in RAW, but some people do. They love using RAW all the time. And when you take a photo with like a 35 millimeter single lens reflex camera, it's taken in RAW. That's where digital photographers get their ability to edit the photo afterwards. But phones used to not let you do that because they didn't have enough memory and resolution. But now they do have that memory and resolution capability so that you can take pictures with RAW, and then you can edit them in an amazing amount of ways if you want to. Okay, so let's tap on this one of Multnomah Falls here. And it's kind of an interesting picture. I actually have a couple. You can actually swipe to go through your photos here. And I take a few pictures from different perspectives to see which one might look good and which one might not. This one has a lot of light at the top. This one doesn't have anybody on the bridge. So having somebody on the bridge does give you a little perspective on the size and scale of this waterfall, right? Because you can see that little person right here, but there's a lot of other stuff around here too. Now the photo looks pretty level, but I just like to crop it, okay? So, by the way, if you tap on the heart, that will automatically save the photo to a album called Favorites that is created when you just tap the heart on any photo you have. So I'm going to tap the edit button here, and that brings up my edit screen. It had to download the photo because it's in the cloud. Okay, so I have the ability to do a lot of things here. I can cancel the edit. Okay. And when I'm done making changes, I have to tap done. Okay. So the first thing that shows up is the magic wand. If I just tap the magic wand, it kind of highlights the photo. It makes it a little more richer and adjusts certain light aspects to it, some contrast, some brightness, things like that. What it's doing, it's actually adjusting these buttons that are to the right of it. Each of these buttons gives you the ability to adjust light and color. So if I tap on the plus and minus button, that is exposure. And the magic wand has actually increased the exposure of the photo a little bit. You can manually adjust it by taking your finger and swiping along the dial here, the actual bars, and you can adjust the exposure for yourself if you want to adjust it. And it snaps in when you have it at 0. I can go to the next button, which is the brilliance. Brilliance is about how bright the light appears, and so I can adjust it a little bit. You can see how it makes some areas darker, some areas lighter, and we can just find a position that's good for it. Highlights brings up the light colors. So if the light colors are too dominant in the photo, we can adjust it a little bit. You can see how it adjusts the light and dark. Shadows brings up the dark colors. So if you have a dark shadow, it brings up the dark colors like the water and the shadow behind the waterfall. It increases it a little bit to the effect I want. And contrast changes the amount of contrast between light and dark, makes it a little hazier as I lower the contrast, makes it a little sharper as I increase it. Brightness will give me a total view of how bright I want to make it. Black point gives you the ability to identify a really dark point and set that as your black point if you want. And then saturation allows you to increase the amount of color if in there, and vibrance gives you the ability to highlight some colors that may not be standing out very well. And you can adjust the warmth. If you want to make it a warmer or cooler image, you can change it a little bit by adjusting the color temperature of the image. And tint gives you the ability to adjust the colors range from green to yellow if you want to bring up more colors. Sharpness is usually not necessary unless the photo was not really clear, but you can sharpen details and you can eliminate noise reduction. Rare for that to be a problem with a photo, but sometimes there's a lot of graininess, particularly on nighttime or dark light photos. There's a lot of noise. That's a grainy effect you get when you take a photo without a lot of light. That's what noise reduction does. But you can see by tapping the magic wand, it makes a lot of adjustments. That's actually a pretty good space to start. Now, just tapping the wand turns it off. If I'm done, I can tap done. If I want to edit it again, I can tap edit. And at the top, you can see there's a red button called revert. So if I want to revert back to the original at any time, I just tap that and it brings back the original. Now, I'd like to make the photo, this could be a little more dramatic if I focus in on some areas. So when I tap edit, I'm going to tap the crop button here. It's both a crop and a rotation. So I'm going to tap on crop. It's pretty straight. I don't have to worry about straighten, but if I needed to straighten a photo, I can adjust it here, but it's pretty straight. I like the bridge is pretty close to where I want it to be. And, but I want to cut down on the amount of space on the side and emphasize the waterfall in some way, and maybe get rid of this log that's sticking up there, right? So I can grab these little handles that are in the corners and on the sides, these little highlighted handles that appear, and I can use them to drag and cut out portions of the photo. So if I drag it up with my finger, I can cut out some portions of the photo and focus in on some areas that might be a little more dramatic there. I'll go up a little more here, and I can focus in. Now I could focus in entirely on the bridge, but I want to leave the waterfall in here. Okay, so now I'm done with that cropping, so I can tap done. So now I've got a entirely different image, that appears. Okay, so I've got that. So now if I tap edit and I tap the magic wand, it'll make the adjustments for this new cropped area. So I recommend you crop your photos first and then focus in on making your adjustments if you want to. Now, I'm going to turn off automatic. And one of the things that you can do very quickly is you can use the filters tool right here. The filters tool will show you the original photo without any light color adjustments, but there are adjustments that you can scroll through here and select. There's vivid, which kind of punches up the colors. There's vivid warm. There's vivid cool. You can give, there's dramatic. Okay. There's dramatic warm, dramatic cool, mono, which is black and white. Sometimes a black and white photo really looks dramatic when you have a lot of rocky, color, dimensions and shadows and lights. It really makes it great. Silver tone gives it a little antique effect. And then noir is kind of a dark, brooding, noir effect. But just applying a filter to it gives you the ability to quickly snap the photo. So try the filters, try the magic wand, and if you want to, you can always revert back to the original. That revert button's back up here if we want it, no matter what. But adjust will bring up those magic wand and adjustments tools. So if I pick the magic wand, it'll override the filters. Most of these adjustments are available in virtually every photo editing tool that's out there. So you tend to use a PC, you can look at the photo editing app that's included with your PC. Microsoft has enhanced it dramatically recently, and they put a lot of AI tools into it. You can edit and adjust photos, crop them, enhance them, straighten them out in the Photos app on your Windows PC. This is the Apple version for iPhone. So you don't have to use the Apple product. And Google Photos is a free download that you can use on your both your phone and your PC and your Mac even. So all of them give you the capability of doing that. It's best to go with the one that's provided with the platform you tend to use the most. Okay. The advantage of this is you can use it on your phone wherever you are, but if you tend to want to use it on your PC, I would recommend using a Windows Photos app that has a lot of capabilities, or trying that you don't need to go up to iCloud to bother doing that. Okay, so we've got our Multnomah Falls photo. That's not bad, I think. I'm gonna keep that, and I like it. So now I've got this photo edited, okay, when I want to. Let's take a look at another photo where it's got really bad perspective, and I want to adjust the perspective. Okay, let's see if this one will work. Okay, I was at the Uffizi Gallery in Florence, and on the Uffizi Gallery, they have these portals where they have historical characters that were represented. I honestly don't know which one this is because I was listening to a Rick Steves guide when I was walking by them, but I was lower and I was pointing my camera up at an angle to take this picture, right? And it looks distorted and it's not really framed right. But I said, I can fix this with editing. And that's one thing you start to think about is that you start to think you can fix this with editing. So I tap edit, it downloaded the photo. Let's go to the crop function first, because the first thing I want to do is straighten this thing out. It's not bad, but if I start to swipe on straighten, it'll pull up these grid lines, and it's actually pretty good in terms of its straightness. Now, when I brought up the crop tool, there's these two other tools that are listed next to the zero. Zero will tell you your adjustment horizontally. And I can crop it. So let's crop out some of this stuff here. Well, actually, before I crop it, I want to do my perspective adjustment. I want to get this so that it looks like I was looking at it straight on. So I'm going to tap the vertical perspective adjustment and watch what happens. I'm going to slide along here as I adjust the slider. It brings the photo, the perspective to where it's vertical. That's as far as I can go with this editing tool, but that's what I wanted when I took the photo, but I couldn't because physically I was below this and I was looking up at the building. So now I can crop this out a little bit and I can crop out that window here and maybe do a little bit more. And I've got a much more dramatic photo here that is much more visible and adjusted, right? So if I wanted to, I can edit it some more. So let's try Magic Edit, see what it does. Well, it kind of brings out a few little dramatic, aspects of it as well. And so now I've got something that's really, much more vibrant and understandable. Is that why you're looking up at that building, right? It doesn't make sense. Now, sometimes the perspective is great. So if I I go to my album, if I look at this one, this is a Duomo in Florence. It's too tall. I mean, it just really is tall. So if I wanted to edit the perspective on this, I may or may not have the ability to do everything I want with it, and it may not look as dramatic as I want, but I can adjust the perspective to try and straighten it out. And you see what happens is that sometimes it starts to take it out of the photo. Okay, so I could lose part of the photo. So when you want to, if you're in area, don't hesitate about taking as big an area as possible for your photo. You can adjust it. Now, horizontal perspective will change things a little bit. I can change the point of view by perspective, but that doesn't really need to be done in any way. So I can leave that alone. And if I go to magic adjustments, it's not a lot of adjustments. It was actually a pretty bright day with some good lighting. And so I have a good photo there. This is from Spain. Not bad. The sky's a little washed out, right? So framing, not bad, So if I want to edit it, I could go with auto. That'll bring up some of the shadows here that I want to use. Part of the challenge with the Photos app on the iPhone is that you don't have the ability to select specific areas and adjust them. So if you wanted to adjust just the sky or just this boarded fence or something on the beach or the water to bring up definition, you don't have that ability you have to go to more advanced photo editing tools that give you that. But one solution is to crop it. So let's crop out some of that sky and see what happens when we do an adjustment now. And that gives us the ability to give it a little bit different perspective on it and adjustment. So that's another way you can deal with it. So just keep in mind, these are all things that you can play with. And the idea is that your personal taste is going to determine what you end up doing. The magic wand gives you a lot of capabilities. The adjustments that you can make to things give you a lot of capabilities as well. And so you can find a lot of things that you can do in it. One of the things that's helpful with the markup tool is the ability to mark up a photo when any photo you want to. So you can take a photo, and by clicking the edit button, it brings up a little icon here called it's a pen cursor editing tool. And if you tap on that, it brings up a little toolbar at the bottom that gives you a pencil, a fine point pen, a marker, an eraser, a selection tool, and a ruler, and color adjustments if you want to. And I think this shows the current tool. So if I take my finger and I start drawing on this with the tool, it'll start drawing around on it and I can adjust it. Now, if I want to make it thicker, I can make it darker here, and I can make it a little bit different in terms of the colors I want to use. So I can select a bright red here, and I can select a highlighter. So if I want to highlight something, I can do that. I can make it really thick, tap on these, and adjust the colors to wherever I want to do to highlight something different. So you can mark up a photo. And it's really particularly useful. Say you take a picture of a document and you want to mark it up. So you say, hey, look at this part of it. It's another way to do it. And of course, when you're done, it does give you the ability to revert back anytime. When you're done with this photo, you can click on the share tool and send it to somebody to share it with them if you want to. Editing photos is a great way to knock out a few hours of a day. You can, you can spend hours taking that photo and saying, no, I'd like a little bit like this. I'd like a little bit like that. And obviously, if you start to say, I'd like to start doing a few more things with this, you can upgrade to a lot of other photo editing tools that are out there that are available in the app stores too. But again, you have photo editing tools on your Mac, on your PC, on your Android, on your iPad, and there's usually these features are available in any of the standard editing tools.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody.
Thank
have a
you.
good day, and I will
Thank you.
see you at another event. Take care. Bye-bye.
Definitely. Thank you
Bye-bye.
very much.